Hey, let's go to our special guest. We were talking about Facebook a second ago, things we understand, things we don't understand. We have an image consultant and president of Maurice Bonamigo. His name is Maurice Bonamigo, and he's been kind enough to join us this morning. Sir, thank you for your time, and welcome to Good Morning PD Live 95.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. Appreciate that, and thanks for having me on the air.
Absolutely. Maurice, I learned in politics, and I think I've learned in business, that very often perception can be reality. I would imagine there's a reality to this Facebook dynamic that we've talked a little bit about this morning. There's also a perception to what Facebook has done and how they're perceived. If you don't mind, explain to us what you think Facebook's biggest problem is, and if you were allowed to give Facebook advice, how would you deal with this? I don't want to call it a crisis, but they're in the news in a way that they'd probably rather not be there.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we're going to break it down little by little here. First of all, Zuckerberg needs to man up, and he's the CEO of the company. Admit what happened. Say they stand behind. Remind Facebook users, when you check that box, you give us all your information, and we can sell that information and utilize it any way we want. So, everybody that's on Facebook, you sign that contract. You know what? You can't do anything about it at this point. Now, Zuckerberg is his worst enemy because he doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. Every time he opens his mouth, it gets worse and worse and worse. That's what you have PR companies. Let them handle that, okay? Yesterday, I think they took out, I forgot how many pages of newspapers, full newspapers. Oh, that was a complete waste. Who the heck reads newspapers anymore? And you know what? The vast majority of Americans are trying to figure out today, what is this all about? And what did they do wrong? Well, let me tell you, they did nothing wrong. They really didn't. I'm not a big Facebook person. I have an account on there. I just use it for business. That's it, okay? But like I said, Facebook did nothing wrong. Facebook does not produce a product like General Dynamics would. What they do, they make money on advertising and then selling these lists for great amount of money. Now, there's other companies, the social media companies, that do the exact same thing. That's perfectly legal. This all started during the Obama administration, which was fine. Mitt Romney used it in his campaign. Hillary Clinton used it in his campaign. I'm absolutely positive Trump used it in his campaign. That's legal, people. You can use that as well as all the other data and information that other social media companies produce and sell. That's perfectly fine. I used it whenever I run a political campaign. That's what it's there for. There's no crime here. But the issue is, I'm interested in knowing, one, is it who started this leaking of a crisis that we have here, which is no crisis whatsoever. I want to know who it was. I think this is nothing more than another hatchet job against the Trump issue because they're still mad. Russia failed. There was nothing there. How many other stories have failed? There's nothing there. They're so anti-Trump, and this is what they're going after. I guarantee you, if Hillary Clinton won the election, you would never heard about this at all whatsoever.
Marsh, you just endeared yourself to the majority of our listeners here in good old South Carolina.
Well, guess what? You know what? The majority of your listeners are completely right. They understand, and everybody else is wrong, and everybody else does not understand. So you people do get it right. And the majority of your listeners are the same people all over the country that put this man in the White House because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of what's going on.
Let me ask you a question,
Maurice.
Maurice.
It doesn't matter what it is.
And this is more of a philosophical and kind of from 35,000 feet question. How much could this damage the trust people have of the Internet? I mean, Facebook would be one of the 800-pound gorillas in that Internet world. I mean, how much damage could this do to the trust factor that because I'm kind of I call myself a digital migrant. I mean, I migrated into the digital area. My kids are natives.
Yeah.
That's the only way they've ever done and lived their lives. I'm always suspicious of what I put out there. How much could this harm? Well, I mean, but Maurice, how much could a name like Facebook being up to no good or being perceived to have been up to no good damage the trust factor we have with this new way we communicate?
That's a very good question. And you are right, and you do get it. And in reality, it's not. This will be a big uproar for a week or two. And then guess what? it'll go away. Something else will pop up, and it'll go away, and everybody will have forgotten about the whole thing. And that's the reality of things. But I remember back when George W. Bush was elected, and he made a point to American people. You have to, each one of you, start taking responsibilities for your actions. And when are we going to start actually doing that, taking responsibilities for your own actions? I mean, if you look on Facebook, I'm embarrassed sometimes by the stuff that people post on there. And they're shameless about what they post. And it's not young children like your children. It's people our age or older that they put this ridiculous stuff on there. That stuff is, first of all, it's embarrassing. One, who the heck cares? Number two, and three, that's very detrimental. And now you're all upset that they've got my data, they've got my information. Well, you're the one that allowed this to be put out there. And why did you put all that stuff on there?
Interesting. Maurice, we appreciate your time, and you gave
final point is,
sure.
You know what's going to happen next? Mark my words, class action lawsuit. It's coming.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Yep. But you're basically saying when you sign the contract, you give Facebook free run. I mean, you give them a free run to garner, harvest your information, and do with it whatever they choose to do with it.
Absolutely, you do. And you know what? And every company does that. I mean, Neiman Marcus does it, Sears does it, because once you start ordering or once you check a box on there, you start seeing all these ads on here. Hotels do it, airlines do it, everybody does it.
Interesting.
That's what they start accumulating data, and that data is constantly sold.
Very well explained. Thank you, Maurice, for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Hey, happy Easter and a blessed Passover to all our good friends out there.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that.